Hi everyone, in this video I'll be showing you how to achieve this asymmetric waistline effect on a corset dress and then this back opening. If you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe. Together we are going to be drafting a basic basic bodies, which is going to be half cut and the skirt part, and then we're going to be drafting we'll turn it to a bustier before we now convert it to a cup corset with yoke, and then we'll draw the backs out. Okay, so let's get started. These are the tools I'll be using. I'm using my tape, my curve ruler, my markers, and then the masking tape. Okay, so the first measurement, I kept this paper on fold right here for the front part, and then the back is just one piece. Okay, so for the front I'm drawing it on fold. So I'll mark my shoulder. The shoulder that I'm using is 8. I'm using shoulder 8. The armhole measurement is 17 divided by 2 is 8.5. So I'll mark the 8.5 and then I'll draw a straight line. So on that line, I'm also going to be marking the shoulder measurement, which is 8, and then I'll connect it to this point. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the natural neckline. The natural neckline is 3, and then the shoulder slant for the front is 1.5, and then I'll go up by another ½ inch. So I'll slant it like this to the first seam allowance and then to the main shoulder slant. Okay, the seam allowance and then the shoulder slant. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the shoulder to bust. Because I'm doing it as a corset, the actual shoulder to bust is 10.5, but I'll use 10. The shoulder to under bust is 13.5, I'll use 13 to raise the bust point a bit, and then the shoulder to waist is 16.5 plus seam allowance is 17. But because of the back's effect, I'll make the backs to come down. One point will be exactly on the waist and the other part is going to go down like 4 inches. So I'm going to use the length of 16.5 plus 4 inches will give me 20.5. So for this front, the length that I'll be using will be 20.5. Then this is the waist. Okay, because I'm doing it as an asymmetric back waistline, that is why I have to draw to these points. Okay, I did another video that if it's just a normal V shape back waistline, you can just come down from your waist and slant it up. You don't need to mark this point. So I'll drop the link of that one. That one is just a corset top. Okay, so this is that one is a corset top also with yoke. So this is the bust, which is 10, and then you can decide to label this line. This is the chest line, this is the bust, this is the under bust, the waist, and then the full length. Okay, which is not actually our full length, but we just need it for the bust here. So for the Basque, now the bust measurement divided by 4 is 9. The waist measurement divided by 4 is 7.5, but I'll reduce it by 0.75, so I'll be using 6.75. And then here, like coming down by 4 inches, I'll just use my blouse length measurement here, which is 9.25, so I'll make it 9. Okay, because it's not reaching up to the actual blouse length. My actual blouse length is 23, so this is 20.5 this point, so I use the blouse length measurement there. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be doing, like now we have drawn the basic bodies, but I've not drawn the armhole. So to do the armhole now, I'll measure what is left here and divide it by 2. I have 7 divided by 2 to get the midpoint. Then from this point I'll go in by 0.75 to draw my armhole. Okay, so I've drawn my armhole. So the next thing I'm going to do is to put the nipple to nipple measurement. The nipple to nipple measurement I'm working with is 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. So I'll mark it on the bust, the under bust, the waist, and then the full length. I'm going to stop. Okay, so I'll now draw it as a straight line. So the line stops on the bust point. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to draw the waist dart. To draw the waist dart, I'm going to be marking ½ inch on both sides of the waist. I ought to use a 0.75, but because I want to have another dart, that's why I made this one to be ½ inch. Then I'll come down from the bust by 1 inch, and then I'll draw my dart. So I'll be drawing it out with a pen first, so that by the time I do my under bust tightening, you're going to see the whole outcome. Okay, so I'm going to put the bust dart on the bust. Put the bust dart. I'll go down by 1 inch, and then I'll connect it to the bust point. Then I'll do the over bust tightening. To do the over bust tightening, I'll measure what is here on the shoulder and divide by 2 to get the midpoint. This is the midpoint. I'll connect the midpoint to the bust point, and then I'll decide where I want my yoke to start. So I'm using 7 here. I'm using 7. So the yoke starts on this line, this point here. So on this point, this line that I've marked from the shoulder, I'm going to take 0.75 on both sides. I'll take 0.75 on both sides. Then from the bust point, I'll come up by ½ inch, and then I'll draw out the dart like this. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to do the under bust tightening. To do the under bust tightening, I'll use the bust divided by 4 minus the under bust divided by 4. That's the round bust divided by 4 minus the round under bust divided by 4. For mine is 1.25. So I could have shared it 0.75, I could have shared it 0.6 on both sides, but I'll be placing half. That's, you place it after outside this dart leg. This is the dart leg that I have here coming from the bust. This is the dart leg. So I'll place half here on this side, and then I'll place 0.75 on this side. That's outside the dart leg. Okay, so I'm going to connect it to the waist like this, and then I'll connect it to the waist here. You can see. So this is the first initial line that I have. I'm going to draw it down. This is the first line that I have. So I place it outside. I place 0.5 here, 0.75 here, and then I'll now curve it. I'll make sure that it rests here, then a bit away from the bust point to the under bust. So I keep my curve ruler like this. So I have a tiny space here, but it's resting on this line. And since it's a marker, I need enough room for my marker to stay. So I'm going to shift it a bit. Okay, and then I'll connect it resting on this line to this point to the bust point like this. Okay, so I'm going to draw this place also. Okay, so here we have a bustier. All right, now I'm going to be drawing the cup. So I'm just going to draw an arc from this chest. From this point, I'll come down by 1.5. You may decide to start your cup from the bust, but for me, I'm starting from the chest line. It's okay for me. So I'll go in by 1 inch at this point. So I'm just trying to draw a curve round. I'm drawing a curve the way I want this cup to be here. So it's just like a sketch on how I want it to be, to curve like this to the armhole part. Okay, so I'll draw it out. So I came down from here, from this where my yoke starts. I came down by 1.5, and then I came in by 1 and curve it like this to the bust front, to this dart, and then all through this armhole area like this. Okay, so right here also I'll mark down 1 inch and draw a straight line to the 1 inch I have on my chest line like this, and then I'll come out here by 1 inch, or for me 0.75 is okay because this my cup is small. But if the person has a bigger bust, can come out here from this point to this point by 1 or 1.25. So I'll draw a curve from this bust point to this 0.75 that I marked to the under bust. So I'm going to use a pen first. As I'm satisfied with it, I'm going to draw it out. So this is the first cup. Now for the other cup side, I'll come out here by 1 inch from this point. I'll come out here by 1 inch. You can come up by as much as 1.25 depending on the person's bust this cup size. And then I'll mark my shoulder measurement also on the bust because I want the cup to rest like this. So I'll connect it from the shoulder measurement on the bust, which is 8, is here, to this 1.1 inch that I came out by, which it can also be 1.25 or 1.5. So I'll now draw a curve to connect these points to the under bust. So I'll use a pen to draw it out first. Like this. So I'll draw it out. And this is my cup. The cup has come out. Okay, so I'm going to tighten this the bust waist, the stomach area, by taking ½ inch on both sides of this back. Okay, so if the person has a bigger tummy, you may leave it like that. So this is it. Okay, now this part now is our yoke. This upper part now is our yoke. So I'm going to draw the neckline that I want. I'm going to make the neck wideness to be 4 and the depth can be 3.5. I'll use 3.5 for the depth. So I'm going to connect from this point to this point. So I draw that line to guide me. Okay, so this is the neckline for the front. Now I want a design here on like the other draft that I did. I would have used it, but I changed my mind that let me use it as a gown. So I want that design here also. So now to form that design, I'll come in here by 2.25 or 2 inches, because this pattern is on fold, so when I open it the distance will be like 4 inches. So you may also make it to be like 5 inches. So I'll come out by 2 point, let's say 2.5, 2.5, yes, 2.5. That's when you open it, it will be 5 inches. Okay, so now from that point I mark the distance of 1 inch. This 1 inch distance I'm marking, it means that by the time I finish sewing it will be more than 1 inch. So I connected that line to this point. Then I'll go up by how wide how long I want what I want to do to be. That I'm trying to create an opening here. So I'll make it 1 inch, because when I finish I just want a very cute shape there. So I'm going up by 1 inch. I'm now going to use it to form a triangle. To form a triangle like this. Obviously by the time I finish sewing this, it will be wider than this. Okay, I don't want, because we are saying we are drawing a modest corset, I don't want too much opening. Okay, I don't want the breast to show too much. So this is just the shape that I drew out on the cup area. All right, so this is it for the front. We're going to draw out the back before I'll now decide how I want my asymmetric backs to be. So this is basically for the front. And then again I'm going to, before I stop, you can decide to have more channels here for this front, which is very important. Here I'm going to be putting a dart. I'm going to be putting a dart. To put the dart, I'll go in by 1/2 inch here. I'll go in by 1/2 inch on the waist, on the under bust, and then I'll connect it as a straight line. This is to help the front side of this your corset to lie flat. So from that 1/2 inch on this under bust, I'm going to slant it to the chest line like this. Okay, so we're going to be cutting off this part. We're going to be cutting off this part, and then I will create another channel. I'll create another channel here, that's putting another dart here. So to do that, I can just decide to measure the midpoint of this and put the dart, but I want it to have a slant style line. So I'm just going to slant it to anywhere I want. I'm just slanting it like anywhere, anyhow I want it. Okay, so I'll slant it like this, but my slant stops here on this cup area, you can see. Then I'm going to be taking the remaining dart that it didn't take here, which is 0.25 on both sides. That way I will have my complete dart. Okay, so I'll just draw it like this. So I'm just drawing it out like this. So the dart is only on the waist. Now the total dart that I've taken is 1/2 and half, that's 2 inches. So when I'm cutting this waist, I'll be adding the 2 inches plus sewing allowance, depending on what you are using for your sewing allowance. So I'll be adding 2 inches plus sewing allowance, which is like, I'll use like 1 inch or 1.5. So let's say I'm using 1.5, that's 1.5 plus 1.5, that's 3.5. Then here I'll be adding 1.5, and here also I'll be adding 2.5, because okay, here is 1 here is half, that's 1.5 plus 1.5 is 3 inches. So sewing allowance I'll be adding here is 3 inches. All right, so now before we cut, we're going to be drafting the back. Okay, now to draft the back, I'm going to be marking my measurement. The back is not going to be having, this upper part is not going to be having zipper allowance, so I'll just mark the shoulder measurement, which is 8. The shoulder measurement is 8. The armhole divided by 2 is 8.5. So that same armhole shoulder measurement, I'll place it there, 8, and then I'll draw a straight line, and then I'll mark the natural neckline. The natural neckline is 3. Then the shoulder slant. The shoulder slant for the front is 1. Then you go up by half, and then I'll draw out the slant. The next thing I'm going to do is to mark the shoulder to bust. The shoulder to bust, as I use for the front, is 10. Then the shoulder to waist, because of the bust that I have put, instead of using 16.5, I'll be using 15.5. And then I'll be adding ½ inch sewing allowance to join the down part to the skirt part. For the back, it's just going to be straight, but you may decide it's just going to be straight, so I'll add ½ inch sewing allowance, okay, to that of the back. So I'm using 10, 15.5 plus ½ inch sewing allowance. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to put the bust measurement is 9 and the waist measurement is 6.75, and then I'll draw it. Then to put my darts, I'm just going to divide the waist by 2 and then get the midpoint. Then whatever I have here is what I'll take to the chest line. Then I'll draw a straight line. Okay, so I'm going to be taking ½ inch on both sides. This is supposed to be on the, so I'll take ½ inch on both sides here, and I'll also take ½ inch on both sides here. Because I want the back to be tight, okay? Then I'll decide if I also want another bony channel here. So I want another bony channel, and then I'll also slant it. I don't want it to be straight, so I'm slanting it like this, and then I'll put a dart on both sides of that line also. So I'm using 0.25 on both sides, and then I'll connect it like this. Okay, so I'll decide, I'm going to draw out the armhole for the back. That's measure and divide what you have by 2. Then I'll go in by 0.25 here, and then I'll draw the armhole. Okay, so this back is going to be having a yoke also, so I'll come down by 7 the way I did for the front. I'll come down by 7. That 7 is just to guide me, but I want mine to stop for the back. I want it to stop on the chest line. So what I'm going to do is to draw out the design that I want for the back. So the neckline for the back, I'll be using 4 inches by 1. 4 inches by 1. So I'm cutting out this, I'll be cutting out this neckline, and I want a curve and arc here at the back. So I'll come out by 3 inches and draw a curve to the chest line. So I'll draw a curve like this. I'm drawing a curve. Just curve it out the way you want it to be first. Then I'll connect it to this point. Okay. Now we can see that this is my neckline. I need something to tighten this place when I'm done. So I'm going to be adding like this is how it's ought to be. So here I need to add what an extension. So that's what I'll use this paper for, where I'll be using to put the to hold it together like a button. So I'll come out by 1 inch. Okay, I'll draw it out because this neckline is going in. Then I'll come down by 1 inch also. I'll come down by 1 inch and draw it to this point. Okay, so I'll be using this part as an extension. So when I'm cutting, I'll just cut like this. Okay. So this is the 1 inch that I added like this. But I'll keep it on fold first. So this is the back. This is how the back will be. Now you add back your dart. The dart I took here is 1.5. So I'll add it back. And here I took 1. I'll add it here. You may also decide to add your seam allowance. The seam allowance I'm using is 1.5. So I add 1.5, 1.5. So I'm able to add my seam allowance for the back. So here I have the front and the back. So here is the front and the back. Okay, here is the front and the back. So now we're going to be cutting it out. Before I cut out the front, I'm going to be pinning it down because we are cutting out So I'm pinning it together before cutting because this front is actually on fold and I don't want it to shift. Okay, then I cut off the waist dart so that I can fold the bust dart. Then after folding it, I blended the lines. Now we have the yoke part for the front, and then I'm cutting the cup. Then the second dart for the front, I cut it out. Now I'm cutting the back. Now this back is going to have eyelets, but I haven't opening at the back. Okay, so I didn't cut out anything from the back. I only cut out the opening for that the yoke part. Okay, so but if you want to have an opening, you can actually create yours. So the extension for the yoke where I'll be putting my button is there, and then I cut out the opening, that design, the opened back design that I have. Now I'm cutting out the dart for the back, and then I label the back to show the up, the center back, the side back one, and side back two. Okay, so these are the pieces. I'll be dropping a link for the second part, which is the skirt part. I didn't want this video to be too long, so I had to cut some parts. So the skirt part will be simple. I'll drop the link in the description box so that we have the complete video. Now for this front, I just pinned the middle as if it's sewn so that I'll be able to create the asymmetric Basque effect that I want. Okay, so I just open them up like this is the front, so I open it up, and then I place the back on the sides to make sure that it aligns with where this thing will stop, the half length, where the half length is. So I checked to make sure that they are equal, and then I'm putting them on another paper